So, Sneepy. Is it Snee? Sneepy? What do you go by?
All of the above. It doesn't really matter. Snee, Sneepy. More recently, people have just been calling me Jack, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay. I'll probably just stick with Sneepy because that's what that's all my notes
Sneepy's
are
fine.
written that way. All right. So I asked Zem and I asked Ricky, and both of them suggested I talk to you. You made the list both times. So congratulations.
Yeah. It's an honor.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself. What's your story with Ratchet and Clank speedrunning?
Well, like a lot of people, I started when I saw Zem's AGDQ run in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you know the run. He did the Uyanji Plus run, and it was the first big Ratchet marathon run, aside from some old ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me interested. And I actually found Ricky from that run, because I couldn't really find Zem. I don't know, maybe I didn't look, but I watched Ricky stream for a little bit. He was running Rec 1 at the time, and I think I found Zem by proxy. I think maybe Ricky raided him or something. And I was a stream monster in 2016. Nobody really liked me. I'm sure if you even asked, have you had your interview with Zem yet?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure if you would have asked him, he would have said, if you'd interviewed him in 2016, he wouldn't have said anything nice about me. I was just kind of an asshole to everybody. But you know, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we all grow up.
Yeah. So as for speedrunning the games, I started with Rack 1 in 2016. I didn't really do any runs until like late 2017, I want to say. I think at least recording. I definitely didn't record any runs. I think the first kind of run of note for me is when I got second place in Rack 1, which is the category I first kind of watched, aside from the GDQ run. And since then, really, I've been like I've been really active in the community. I still run now. I run Rec 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't really run Rec 3. And I run a little bit of Deadlock and things. And I'm just kind of known as being pretty average. I'm not as dedicated as a lot of the top runners, which is why you really see me at the top. But I'm not bad. I'm okay.
Yeah, you're up there, man. That's an achievement.
Yeah.
So you've been around since like 2016-ish.
Yeah.
I want to get some more perspective on what was it? So there's a bit more of a people story going on behind the scenes, right? Because obviously it's like, yeah, we're saving time, we're doing all these cool tricks and things like that, but there's a lot of stuff going on where like Zem comes in and he's so good from doing Ouya for so long that he doesn't even need to practice. He's wearing the snowman skin. He's like BMing people like intentionally, right? Were you around for that? Like, what was your perspective on that?
I can't really remember the first time I saw them running Rec 2. I don't think it was like at the very start, like when he first started running Rec 2. I do remember seeing his Rec 2 runs, and he would and he was just like clearly better than everybody else. And I don't know, I kind of always had an eye for Rec 2. Rec 2 was my favorite growing up. It was probably my favorite to replay casually when I did, after buying the trilogy on PS3. So I kind of always enjoyed watching Zem's runs. I never really thought like he was unbeatable. As for me and Rec 2, I kind of did my own thing, because originally when I played on suboptimal versions. I played on PS2 PAL.
Okay.
And then I played on PS3 for a little bit, so I was never really in contention with Zem for a long time until I think mid 2018 is when I got a PS2 or a PAL or a NTSC copy of
There you go.
Rag 2, and I bought Zem in like a week, which was kind of cool. I don't really like to mention that though because no, I went. I bought Zem in a week. But it was not too impressive. Like Zem was good, but it was never amazing. And even when Zem came back again, like after I'd bopped him and someone had bopped me, Zem came back and got the records pretty fast and even optimized them a decent bit. And I only recently, like as of only recently, I'm ahead of him again on the NG Plus leaderboards, which I'm kind of proud of because I do think his run is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, go ahead.
No, go on. I was just gonna say I'm second in NG Plus now.
Hey, there you go. Right behind Fear. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a little bit. On the road to getting there, so Zem pushes it for a little while, and then we see the rise of Scotto Bozo, right? Scotto doing a lot of no specials. Is that where he started? I'm trying to get a good idea of that.
I can't really remember the early days of Scotto. I just kind of know him as a all-round like good Rec 2 runner. I think he did. I really do think he just did a bit of everything. He was really good at no IMG. He was way better than everybody else in no specials. The best in APB for a while, and he's still now he's still one of the best. Like probably the second best Rec 2 player right now.
Yeah.
Even though he hasn't played in a while, like he could still compete easily if he tried.
Nice. Is there anything else you could tell me about Scotto as just as a speedrunner in general? Like, what's he like?
Scotto is really good at dedicating himself to something he hasn't much time into yet. Like in his case, he chose to run ATB because he saw that it wasn't really optimized, and he dedicated himself to it for a good amount of time, and he beat Zem and he pushed the category down by a few minutes. And that was just a choice that he made. He wanted to do that. He also just likes beating Zem, not out of spite. It's not out of spite because Zem and Scotto were never, well, they didn't used to be on the best terms. But Scotto, I know Scotto enjoys beating Zem, and he won't deny that. Even now, he just beat Zem in any percent after beating him in all titanium bolts in Ouya. And that's, I think he said he just wanted to see him run it again, or he wanted to inconvenience him. Well, not to inconvenience him, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Just kind of pester.
It's not malicious. We're all friends.
Yeah, I heard we're all friends now. I think there was a time when that wasn't the case. But
yeah, I can't really remember much of that, to be honest.
It's all good. Which is funny though that
feud.
Yeah, it's funny to hear both of them talk about it because Zem is very much like, yo, man, we hated each other. We were always at each other's throats. It was always constant drama and is a big deal. Yeah. And then Scotto is like, oh, yeah, I guess Zem didn't really like me that much. That's such a mean thing on the YouTube channel.
Zem kind of, I don't want to say over dramatic, but kind of does say something.
That's his flair,
I'm sure if you asked him about the feud with me, he'd say, yeah, completely hate each other, which we did. And it was kind of, the community was split into two groups. It was kind of split into the Chillest Boys, which was like old school Rec 1 runners and Ouya runners, which was like Zam and Ricky, all of those guys. And then it was me, which was kind of like the new you say generation of runners, where we didn't really blend that well, and they had their own Discord. We eventually had our Discord, and then we only ever really met in the middle when we were talking about Ratchet in the Ratchet Discord.
Okay. Yeah, that's the Chillest Boys was a thing I remember from the first video we did.
Yeah.
Gosh, who else was in there?
Well, they're still
Uh,
around. It's Nuka.
Prince Vortex, yeah, Nuka,
Yeah, Vortex, Ricky, Zem,
IN,
IN, Maxis,
Slaughter.
Slaughter. Um, there's probably a few more.
Surely there's
Skritler.
more, but
There is more. I can't remember them all though.
it's all good.
YP. Sure, you know YP.
I've heard the
Damon.
name. I don't know if I know very much about him though.
He was a Reg 2 runner. Uh, but he runs everything. Like if you look at his speedrun.com page, he's got at least
Yes.
games on there. I'm pretty sure he's at the top of the leaderboards for most games, and he's good at every one of them. Like YP is one of the best speedrunners there is.
Yeah, I talked about it with Zem, and he has like 100 games or so, and apparently
Yeah.
he likes to push Glover on people.
Yep, Glover's one of his main games. I would say it was mainly Glover and Rec 2 a long time for Damon, but he kind of runs whatever now.
Cool deal.
Pretty
Okay.
sure he runs Celeste. Don't quote me on that. I think it's
so.
Celeste. This is his main game now.
That sounds right. Okay.
Nice.
Let's see here. Let's see. Let's talk about the history a little more. So there was a time after Zem kind of did his second streak, where Scotto comes in and he starts lowering the times a lot. And that's when sort of we see the rise of fear. And fear he's really interesting for a couple of reasons, but like the fact that he's like 15 when he starts, and he's just constantly going, and he's just rising through the ranks really quickly. It's really, really incredible to see. What can you tell me about fear?
Personally, or do you mean in terms of the game?
Either one.
Well, I know Fear too personally. I know he's a tennis coach. He teaches kids. Obviously he's Australian. He does split school and speedrunning very well. He probably has the healthiest balance I've seen. He doesn't let speedrunning get in the way of school and his job, and he also doesn't let those things get in the way of speedrunning. For the most part, like obviously speedrunning takes a backseat when he has to do more important things. But he's never really, like, since Fear came around, he's always been active. You never really see Fear taking prolonged breaks. He's kind of, since he came along, he's been really active in the games, which is why he's as good as he is, because he's so consistent in practice as well. I don't think he practices much on stream, but he practices so much, and it really shows in his gameplay. Like, you can just tell.
Yeah, he was telling me something like he'll practice for like 2 hours off stream and then stream for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
it's just an all-day affair.
Yeah, I'm sure if he streams more consistently or at better times, I'm sure he'd actually have like a relatively big stream. Like he could probably average decent viewers, if he was a consistent with the streams, or if he was able to be consistent with the streams. Say, it's not really a choice. He's nothing to not grow. He's just busy with things, and he doesn't always have the time. And I'm not entirely sure if that's what he wants for his stream. Maybe he doesn't want that, but he definitely could.
Definitely could. Let's see here. What else? I heard a story, not a story, but I thought I heard Scotto say that there was a time around like the 24-minute mark when Scotto just like Fear needs to, get his mentality together, and he needs to take the world record, and I'm just going to walk away from the category and let him do that.
Right. I wasn't aware of this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get confirmation.
Yeah, I can't really remember a period where Fear and Scotto were consistently in direct competition. One was always ahead of the other in whatever category they were running.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is the 24-22 to 24-20 around
Yeah,
the
I
end
don't
of
really.
2018. But
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe though.
maybe
I'm not the right person to ask.
it's all good.
um,
All good.
yeah.
So, are there any like storylines? Some interesting, like, oh man, like, has anyone talked about this? You know, like what are the if you were to tell somebody about the story of Rack 2, you know, what are the parts that you really want to focus on?
Um, I think the biggest thing that ever happened for Rack 2 speedrunning was when we really discovered the potential of the decoy movement.
Yeah.
Because originally the decoy was used, you would do it to jump in midair, or you would do it to turn a corner sharply. Then we kind of realized that, we went from, we would have a couple strats where you would charge and throw a decoy and you would kind of slide up a slope. And
Mhm.
then from there, we learned that you could proxy. Um, and proxies really changed the game. Like, I'm sure if you were to watch the world record progression in a category such as APB, you would be able to tell roughly when we found decoy proxies
Mm.
because they kind of changed everything to do with the
Yeah.
decoys or to do with the charge movement.
Mhm.
So, I'm not really, I don't know. I think decoy proxies definitely made the biggest impact in the game. I'm not entirely sure about any storylines. The game
Mhm.
has always just kind of steadily progressed. Um, Aside from obviously when the decoy stuff was found, that was when it kind of took its first big jump.
Yeah. Yeah, decoy or not but proxies in general are really interesting.
Hmm.
I was doing the research to sort of get a good idea of what's going on, and I picked a couple of runs through time, right? And I watched like Insomniac back in like 2014, and then I watched Ricky in 2015, and then I watched Zem, and then I watched Scotto in 2017 or so. And Scotto was the first person to really put proxies into the no IMG route
Hmm.
because he had spent so much time doing no specials, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's so incredibly different because he doesn't have to rely on the wrench climbing stuff anymore.
Yeah. It's
So,
it was definitely huge. And also on the topic of no specials, you can kind of tell how much, like, if you watch the progression of that category, you would see how much, like, even though nobody really likes no specials anymore, it's for a long time it's kind of been seen as a worse no IMG,
mhm.
which it still is, but you can see how much that category influenced no IMG because you kind of slowly you see in the progression of the runs, you see first person just fading away. And
Mhm.
I think now in no IMG we use it one, two, three, four times. Three or four.
Yes.
I think it's so as much as we kind of hate on no specials, we kind of have to thank it for how much it helped us push no IMG.
Mhm.
Because I really doubt the category would be as low as it is um, without no specials, and how we optimized that and helped translate the strats from that into no IMG.
Mhm.
Um, and as for the deterioration of first person mode, I think the first person that really pioneered a lot of the route uh, uh, where you would start to see first person becoming less and less used was Ricky. Um, I'm sure you spoke with him, but he
Mhm.
a lot like the main thing people say keeps them from running Rack 2 is the first person stuff. Um, and while that annoys me because like there's hardly any now, it's kind of that was I guess it was a thing for Ricky as well. He hated the first person movement, so he started to route it out. And slowly
Mhm.
but surely, we've worked down to where we are now, which is, like I say, 3 or 4 uses of it in the entire 23, 24, 25 minute category.
Yep. Yeah, I
Um,
believe it's on Dabo, Aranos, to Snivelak, and Yeetle.
yeah, that's it. That's what I had in mind, at least. Might be missing one.
Maybe, but
Jamming array. Do it on jamming array.
Oh, there you go. There was a thing you said that I wanted to touch on. Oh, yeah. I think it was Torpedo who said it, but he described that no IMG has had so many like advancements, but they were all outside of the category, which I find a really interesting concept.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. It's definitely true. Not entirely, obviously, but
mhm,
a lot of the advancements in no IMG did come from no specials and APB.
mhm.
And even in a way, I think any percent, because any percent briefly, we got the charge boots. Because for a short period of time before we realized that PS3 was way faster, we thought if we're going to be running it on PS2, we should time how much time it takes to get the charge boots, which takes about 5 minutes. Which then would mean you'd need to be able to save 5 minutes on every planet after Dobbo. So we got the charge boots briefly, and then obviously we kind of, PS3 loads way faster. There's a couple like the ship landing cutscenes don't play on 3, and all that time adds up, and it ends up being a good amount of time faster than the charge boot route. But a lot of the charge boot strats did end up being useful in no IMG, and they're even useful in some categories today. Like I'm sure there's a couple APB strats that came from old any percent.
There you go. Yeah, and I think Fear's been doing a lot of work with the NG Plus category nowadays. That he wants to bring a lot of that stuff over to no IMG at some point.
Yep, I think eventually, I'm sure once the category gets to the 22-minute mark, mid 22 mark, you'll start seeing less and less of a difference between what we do in NG Plus and how we execute those tricks in no IMG.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think
like
about
the
it?
Snivelac
As it should.
proxies.
Yeah.
Because
Go ahead.
the Snivelac proxies only save a few seconds, but if you're wanting to get the category as optimized as a 22, low to mid 22, you're kind of going to need all the 2 or 3 second strats that wouldn't even seem viable in NG Plus maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy to think that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What else do I have for you? So you said proxies. The development of proxies was one of the biggest sort of cornerstones in the route. Any other ones? I think Fear has been working on
I can
the
really think of
mid-air charges and things like that.
Yeah, I can't see mid-air charges ever being viable in more than a couple places in NG Plus. Maybe if we find a more consistent method. As of right now, I know is the only one that can really do them with any sort of consistency.
Sure. Okay.
But maybe eventually, if we get maybe a new runner who puts 12 hours into doing mid-air charges, they'll be able to do them in a couple places. I'm sure you know that Fear has done that.
Yes, I have heard.
Yeah, it's wild though. Like, even last year we would think, no, never would we do mid-air charges. And then Ouya NG Plus got so optimized to the point where now Ouya has one 20 minutes into the run. And they apparently easier in Rec 2, so I don't see why we wouldn't eventually be adding them. If Fear maybe wants to push it to like a very low 22, I'm sure you'll start seeing a couple double charges crop up.
Mm-hmm. He
But
said
other
something
than,
like, "Go ahead."
I was just gonna say, other than Fear, nobody's really gonna be doing them.
Yeah, I don't expect many people, because he has like this special technique apparently that helps him do it. So maybe people will
He's
learn
got
that.
magic fingers or something.
That's one way to look at it.
That's what it must be. I can't do them, so it must be his magic fingers.
He said something like he did 17 in a row one time.
That sounds about right. That doesn't
It's like-
surprise me. I'm surprised it's so low, actually. Not only 7 frame perfect charges in a row.
it's so nutty.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, can you tell me more about what double charges are? Because I have an idea, but not really.
So there's a couple ways that are different. There's a method where, so obviously, charges. You charge and it lasts for a second,
Mhm.
and then it ends. Or you hold it and it keeps going, and it becomes really slow. So the charge, you have the 1 second of speed, and then it slows down, and it's
Right.
like at that point only a little bit faster than walking. And then on the ground, what we do is we spam R1 so that when the first charge ends, you do another charge,
Mhm.
and then you get the 1 second of speed again, and you can do that infinitely. And what double charging is it allows you to get the second of speed, and then
Mhm.
either canceling it or doing it again, which is frame perfect. It allows you to get another full second of the speed and the distance. And the way Fear does it is so in the first, so the charge is 60 frames. It's a full second exactly.
Mhm.
It's how long a charge is. And during the first 30 frames of the charge, he presses R1, and that buffers an R1 input. And then what he'll do is in the latter 30 frames of the charge, he'll press circle, and then R1 a frame later, and it'll buffer the first R1 input next to the second one, which is the frame perfect part, doing it a frame later, and that'll allow him to get a second charge. But basically what it is, simpler, is he buffers R1, and then he cancels the charge, and then a frame later, he will start the charge again.
Okay.
Gives you the most speed and distance out of anything in the game.
Nuts. And you had mentioned that that doesn't work in Ouya the same way, right?
I don't know. Fear knows. The method, for example, Zem, he's the only person that does the trick.
Mhm.
What Zem does is he'll hold L1, which is the first person camera, and in theory that gives you a kind of a bigger window to hit the frame perfect charge.
Okay.
So he holds L1 and he lets the charge run out on its own. And with his right hand, he'll take it off the controller, and using his index and middle finger, he'll flutter on R1. And then as soon as the charge ends, he'll let go of L1. And then, the mid-air charge happens. It's less consistent. It's not timing. It's apart from the L1, it's not timing. It's you just mash R1, and
Yeah.
you can just mash R1 and hope for the best, and hope you just happen to get the frame perfect inputs.
Mhm.
I think to do them consistently, you would need, I think it's 16 R1 a second. Do them consistently by just mashing R1.
Right.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay. I'll not
I'm
quote you
fair.
on it.
That number sounds right to me. Is 16 inputs a second for it to just happen consistently.
Okay. All right. We've been going for about half an hour. I don't know if I have any more questions for you.
Fair enough, man.
Was there anything that we haven't talked about that you think we should talk about?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered Fear and Ricky and Zem and Scotto, which are the main four.
Yeah, those are the big four I see in this story.
Yeah, I don't really run a lot of the Rack games, so I never really paid full attention to any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Rack 2 is like my main game, but I don't really see anything that we could have missed.
Okay.
I think briefly, like other than the people we mentioned, I think briefly Skits got world record in no
Yes.
IMG. Skits, he had a 27-26, and that was when a low 27-26 was maybe possible.
Mhm.
I think maybe YP's PB was world record at the time.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, there's some
don't think.
debate about the YP one, but I need to find out about that.
Well, let me see, 27.
Well, the reason I say that is because Scotto was telling me that this was before the load time remover was there. His 2708 and his 2701 were the world record. But then after that, YP's runs with the loads removed or with the long loads removed ended up being faster in the long run. So retroactively, it's like it was changed on the
Okay.
fight. So
That sounds. I can believe that. I don't really know much about that.
I would have to look into it more. Yeah, this
Yeah,
I was the only person who told me that, so I don't know how. I have to look into it.
dude, Scott only gets one long load in his PB. That's crazy. So does Fear. What the
Yeah.
hell? They only get one long load. I have 20 seconds of long loads in my run.
You just need to get good.
I do. I can't see anybody here that had world record other than those two, YP and Skids. I don't think Josh's run was world record.
I don't see that anywhere.
Um, I think Zem's run was world record. I know was. Um, the main difference, like the only thing I can really say is the main difference between like Scotto and Fear is Fear has absolutely, well, no, no fear. He'll just go for the strat. He'll go for it as fast as possible, and if he fails it, he'll reset the run and go again. Like he doesn't really set things up. He doesn't take like quote unnecessary steps.
Mhm.
Um, he'll just press the go fast button and he'll go fast. And if he dies, he'll reset.
There you go.
Fear doesn't really take the extra precautions to maybe clutch out a PB, aside from maybe in the last few splits. But until then, he'll just go as fast as humanly possible. And that's what sets Fear apart from all the other runners, is that he will do the hardest strats no matter what, no matter when. And he will try and execute them as fast as possible.
Nice. It's a good bit. Yeah, because I think Scotto is very much more consistent across the board. He's just every
Yeah,
time he's going to get
well, I
game
mean,
time.
I think at this point, Fear is the most consistent, even though
Oh
he's
yeah,
the fastest. Fear is definitely he's easily the best Rack 2 runner we've had. He's the most consistent, he's the fastest, he's the most dedicated, he's everything that you would want to be as a Rack 2 runner.
nice.
Um, yeah, other than that, I can't really see anybody, like I can't see anybody beating Fear for a while. And if they do, it won't stand for long because Fear. I'm not sure if you've spoken to Fear, but if somebody beats him, he won't let it stand for very long.
I have spoken with Fear, but he didn't mention it. But I guess to him, there's not a lot of people who are really knocking on the door.
Yeah, it's kind of like New Year. He really treasures having the sweep in New Year, and even though he doesn't have it right now, I'm sure it's like kind of always in the back of his mind that he doesn't have the sweep in New Year, and that he will want to go back for it.
Hmm,
I'm sure he will, because
I'm
right now
sure.
Scotto has a faster time than Zem in that category.
Was there one more thing I was going to say? I feel like I had a note there and I just totally dropped it. Oh, any thoughts on Torpedo?
I think Torpedo has a lot of potential. He's not running right now. Um, I just think he needs to. Torpedo's consistency's kind of always been an issue. He practices a lot. He plays a lot. Um, at least when he did play, he's playing something else right now. But he definitely has potential. He just needs to go a bit faster.
There you go. Words we can all live by.
Oh yeah. But
Okay.
Torpedo, I don't know about Torpedo really. He like his PB is 2 seconds faster than mine, but mine was kind of like no effort. I'm not sure why he stopped when he got this run. I'm sure there was a reason, but he could easily beat this by 30 seconds. At least. I'm not sure about any world records for Torpedo anytime soon. Although it'd be great to see.
Mhm.
People always, especially in the rec community, we love seeing the top dog dethroned. I'm sure Zem will have mentioned that to you. People love seeing Zem lose.
Yeah. There's kind of this running theme that Zem is the heel, right? He's like the villain that everyone likes to see dethroned.
Yeah, I think he likes that analogy.
I think so too. I think he himself told me he's the hungry box of Ratchet
Well, it's
and
because
Clank.
yeah, he says that as well. Obviously he's the biggest, and for a long time he was the best. And in what he does play actively now, he still is the best. So people just like to see, uh, the underdog succeed and
Hell yeah.
beat out Zem.
Who doesn't like a good
I
underdog
think
story?
sometimes it gets to him, but when you're the biggest in the community, it kind of comes with the job.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any final notes, or do you think we're good here?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, this was fun. Glad we got a
I
chance
didn't
to
do too
comment.
bad.
Yeah, see? Look at that.
That wasn't so bad.
Yeah. See, like I said, everyone comes in here and they're like, "Oh no, I'm gonna be shit." I don't want to do this. It's like, nah, man, you're gonna be fine. I promise. Everyone's got something to say. So, all right,
I'm
let
not
me go
sure how
ahead.
much of that will actually be of use to you in making the video, but I'm sure I
I'll
said
work
a
my
thing or
magic.
two.
I'm pretty good. I can work my magic. So,
Very nice.
all right, let's end this here.